Schools closed, airports shut down, and foreign embassies evacuated their citizens. But this wasn't just random violence. This was the inevitable result of a nation carved up by foreign powers, where Malaysia leaders have become the true rulers, and where Africa's richest oil reserves have become a prize. So buckle up, because today we are going deep into what's actually going on in Libya and exposing the shocking truth about who is really pulling the shots. On May 12, 2025, Tripoli exploded in the worst fighting the capital has ever seen in years. The spark? The assassination of Abdel Ghani, known as Ganiwa, a powerful Malaysia leader who controlled the southern districts of Abu Salim and commanded the stability support apparatus. Within hours, heavy weapons fire rocket residential neighborhoods. The 44th Brigade, aligned with Prime Minister Deba, clashed with Ganiwa's forces and other militias. Civilians were trapped in the crossfire. Schools shut down, airports closed, and the UN issued urgent calls for a ceasefire. But here is what the headlines don't tell you. Ganiwa is not just another warlord. According to analysts, he was essentially the de facto ruler of Tripoli, controlling everything from prisons to public companies and also the flow of money in and out of the central bank. So ask yourself, when such a powerful leader is eliminated, is it just local violence, or is it part of a calculated power grab? Because what happened next is telling. Prime Minister Deba quickly declared a military operation to dismantle irregular armed factions and reassert state authority, a convenience crisis that allowed him to consolidate power while appearing as someone who wants to restore order. But we need to go deeper to understand what's really happening here. And to do that, we need to go back in time to see how Libya got here in the first place. How did Libya arrive at this point? We need to know that in order to understand the depth of the situation. To understand Libya today, we must travel back to 2011. For 42 years, Muammar Gaddafi ruled Libya with an iron fist. Yes, he was a dictator who suppressed opposition, but he also used Libya's vast oil wealth to create Africa's highest standards of living. Standards that are not found even in Europe, with free healthcare, education, free housing, free loans without interest. Libya had the highest human development index in Africa. Gaddafi also had a vision: the United States of Africa with a single currency backed by gold, challenging the CFA franc and dollar hegemony. Then came the Arab Spring. What began as protest quickly escalated into civil war. NATO, led by France, the UK and the US, launched airstrikes, allegedly to protect civilians. But was humanitarian concern the real motivation? Let's look at what's come to light since then. French intelligence documents revealed that Gaddafi's plan for a gold-backed African currency threatened French control over the CFA franc. Hillary Clinton's emails exposed that French President Sarkozy's primary concerns were gaining access to Libya's oil and preventing Gaddafi's financial influence in Francophone Africa. On October 2011, Gaddafi was captured by the rebels and NATO's mission was completed.
We came, we saw, he died.
The dictator was gone, but what came next? Not prosperity, not unity, not democracy. Instead, Libya fractured into competing militia, becoming a failed state where human trafficking flourished, where slavery returned, and where foreign powers carved up the nation's resources. Now, ask yourself, who benefits truly from Libya's liberation? Fast forward to today, and Libya isn't much of a country, as it is a battleground divided between two major centers of power. In the West, we have the UN-recognized Government of National Unity, GNU, in Tripoli. It is led by Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Deiba, backed by Turkey. In the East, we have the Libyan National Army, LNA, led by General Khalifa Haftar, supported by Russia, France, Egypt, and the UAE. But here is the reality. These governments control very little of the Libyan space. The real power lies with dozens of militia groups who control neighborhoods, ports, oil refineries, and smuggling routes. Now, these militias aren't just fighting for territory, they are fighting for Libya's economic lifeblood. Oil. Libya has Africa's largest proven oil reserves, 48 billion barrels. Oil accounts for over 90% of government revenue. And that's where the puzzle pieces start to fit together. Most clashes, including the recent fighting in Tripoli, happened near strategic economic assets. Control the oil terminals and you control the money. Control the ports and you control the trade. And guess what? The militia leader who was unalived this month, his territory includes key access routes to huge economic infrastructure. Now, we come to the most disturbing part of this story. The foreign hands pulling the strings behind Libya's chaos. Libya isn't fighting its own civil war. It is hosting proxy wars for global powers. Turkey has deployed troops and Syrian mercenaries to protect the GNU in Tripoli. Because in 2019, they secured a maritime deal giving them access to disputed gas fields in the Mediterranean. And Russia, through the Wagner Group, supports Haftar's forces in the east. They have established bases near the borders with Chad and Sudan, using Libya as a launchpad for the influence across the Sahel region. France officially supports UN peace forces, but covertly backs Haftar, seeking to counter both Turkey's influence. The United States conducts joint military exercises with the GNU, while claiming to fight terrorism, but their real objective is checking Russian ambitions. Now, these foreign powers aren't creating peace, they are ensuring perpetual division. By arming rival factions, they freeze the conflict, making sure no side gains decisive control. As one analyst noted, foreign interference is reinforcing divisions between armed groups, tribes, and militias, preventing any prospect of national unification. But there is one question we haven't answered yet. What does all this mean for Africa's future? Libya's tragedy isn't just Libya's problem, it's Africa's warning. What happened in Libya follows a familiar pattern we have seen across our continent. First, a leader challenges Western economic interests. Then, they are demonized in international media. Next comes regime change, either through coups, assassinations, or humanitarian intervention. Finally, the country descends into chaos, while foreign corporations extract resources. The destruction of Libya wasn't just about removing Gaddafi. It was about stopping the African gold-backed dinner that would have liberated our continent from economic colonialism. Since Libya's fall, we have seen increased foreign military presence across the Sahel. We have seen coups in Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Guinea. We have seen the expansion of Africa and another new cycle of Gaddafi would have just begun. Is this a coincidence or a strategy? So what lessons should African leaders and citizens take from Gaddafi's ongoing tragedy? The African Union must strengthen its capacity to prevent foreign military interventions on our soil. When Libya was attacked, the AU's peace plan was ignored in favor for NATO's bombs. This cannot happen again. African nations must strengthen regional currencies. The countries now facing coups are the same ones facing monetary independence from France. It is not a coincidence that only French African countries are undergoing coups in Africa. This is because they are trying to have sovereignty, monetary sovereignty from France. And third, resource nationalism with strategic partnerships. Africa's resources must benefit Africans first. Look at how Botswana controls its diamonds. Look at how Botswana is so prosperous. And fourth, invest in alternative media and communications. Africa's stories must be told by Africans. The narrative warfare that preceded Libya's destruction showed how powerful media can be in justifying intervention. And finally, build strong institutions, not strong men. While Gaddafi had a Pan-African vision, he failed to build institutions that could survive without him. True power comes with systems, not individuals. But Libya's story isn't over. Even now, amid the noise and rubble in Tripoli, Libyans are calling for unity, for prosperity, for peace. And Africa's story isn't written in the boardrooms of foreign powers. It is written by us, our unity, our choices, our determination to chart our own course. You see, the forces that shattered Libya are still at work across the continent, but so are the forces of African renaissance, of Pan-African solidarity, and of economic liberation. And the question is, which of these would be stronger? If we learn these lessons, if we stand together, we can ensure that the next chapter in Africa's story isn't written with foreign pens, but with African hands building African solutions. So what do you think? Are foreign interventions helping or hurting Africa? Now, what lessons should we learn from Libya's situation? And if you found this video valuable, share this video and like it with a friend or family.